The unexpected visitor. Milo Hayes was precisely 37 days into his 12-month contract at Outpost Sigma 9 when the impossible crashed into his life. The facility, a converted mining platform clinging to the edge of an asteroid belt in the Carina sector, had been designed for a crew of 12. Budget cuts and automation had whittled that number down to 1. Just Milo and the endless void. The outpost's primary function was to monitor solar fluctuations and deep space anomalies, data that helped keep shipping lanes safe and communication relays functional. In reality, Milo spent most of his days fixing poorly designed equipment and talking to himself. The company AI, Lorai, was technically there for conversation, but her personality protocols had degraded to the point where she mostly spoke in shipping manifests and obscure regulatory warnings. Proximity alert, Lori announced, her voice crackling through the station's ancient comms. Unidentified vessel on collision trajectory. Milo looked up from the circuit panel he'd been rewiring, a frown creasing his brow. That's impossible. We're not on any standard routes. Collision in 47 seconds, Lori continued unhelpfully. Milo scrambled to the observation port, eyes widening as he caught sight of the approaching vessel. It wasn't like any ship he'd ever seen, no hard metal edges or utilitarian design. Instead, it resembled something organic, with a hull that pulsed with veins of bioluminescent energy. It was beautiful in the way deep-sea creatures were beautiful. Alien, mesmerizing, and vaguely threatening. Lorai, prepare emergency protocols, Milo called out, already reaching for his environment suit. And calculate impact zone. The vessel hit the asteroid's surface about 300 meters from the outpost's main airlock. It didn't explode on impact as Milo had feared. Instead, it seemed to absorb the collision, skidding across the rocky terrain before coming to rest in a shallow crater. The hull dimmed, power fluctuations visible through the translucent sections. Milo sealed his suit and cycled through the airlock, stepping out onto the asteroid's barren surface. Magnetic boots kept him anchored as he made his way toward the crash site, tools jangling in the utility belt at his waist. The ship looked even stranger up close, almost like it was breathing, its surface contracting and expanding in slow, labored pulses. "Hello," Milo called out over his external comms, though he knew it was pointless. Universal translators only worked with known languages, and whatever piloted this craft was unlikely to speak standard English. A seam appeared along the ship's side, revealing what looked like an opening. Milo approached cautiously, one hand hovering over the compact plasma cutter at his hip. He wasn't a violent man by nature, but isolation had taught him caution. The creature that emerged from the ship nearly stopped his heart. She, and Milo's brain immediately assigned this pronoun despite having no idea about alien biology, resembled a human woman at first glance. Tall and elegant with skin so pale it almost appeared translucent, revealing a network of silvery veins beneath. Her eyes were the giveaway. Completely black without iris or sclera, like liquid obsidian pools. Her hair, long and flowing, seemed to move with a life of its own, rippling like silver water even in the absence of gravity. But it was her mouth that held Milo's attention. Specifically, the pair of elongated canines visible when she parted her lips. "Help," she said, the words somehow transmitting directly to his helmet comms despite the vacuum between them. She swayed, one hand pressed against her ship's hull for support. System damage. Life support failing. Then she collapsed. Without thinking, Milo rushed forward, catching her before she hit the ground. She was surprisingly light in his arms, as if her bones were hollow. Through his suit's gloves, he could feel her skin, cold, much colder than any human should be, but with a subtle electric current running just beneath the surface. "Lorai, prepare the med bay," Milo called out, already carrying the alien back toward the outpost. "And run every damn scan we've got. I'm bringing in a visitor." Getting her back to the outpost was the easy part. Figuring out what to do with her after that proved considerably more challenging. The med scanner registered her as simultaneously alive and dead, her biological patterns so far removed from human norms that the equipment couldn't make sense of the readings. Her body temperature was 20 degrees below what would kill a human. Her heartbeat occurred once every 3 minutes, and her blood, what little the scanner could detect, had properties more akin to liquid crystal than hemoglobin. "You've got to give me something, Lori," Milo muttered, staring at the conflicting data scrolling across his screen. "Subject incompatible with database parameters," Lori replied. "Recommend standard quarantine procedures." Milo ignored her, focusing instead on the alien ship. If he could repair it, maybe it would stabilize her condition as well. The craft's bioorganic nature suggested a deep symbiotic relationship with its pilot. He spent the next 6 hours shoveling back and forth between the outpost and the crash site, analyzing the vessel's damage. The technology was unlike anything he'd encountered, a hybrid of mechanical components and what appeared to be living tissue. Conduits pulsed with fluid that glowed the same electric blue as the veins beneath the alien skin. Interface panels responded to touch like nerve endings, recoiling from some tools while accepting others. By the time Milo returned to the med bay, the alien was awake. She sat perfectly still on the examination table, those bottomless eyes fixed on him the moment he entered. "Your ship?" Milo said, pulling up a stool across from her. "It's damaged, but I think I can help repair it. There's something wrong with the central nervous system, if that's what you call it." The alien tilted her head slightly. "You understand biomechanical integration." Her voice was melodic, each word carefully enunciated as if she was testing the language. "Not exactly," Milo admitted, "but I'm good with patterns, and your ship has patterns. Damaged ones that need fixing." She studied him for a long moment, then said, "I am Naira of the Vesperine Collective. We are travelers, seekers of knowledge across the void between stars." "Milo Hayes," he replied, extending his hand before realizing she might not understand the gesture. "Human engineer, currently the sole operator of this glorious outpost." To his surprise, Naira reached out and took his hand. Her touch sent a jolt of electricity up his arm. Not painful, but intense, like completing a circuit. "Your isolation resonates with me, Milo Hayes. I too am far from my kind." Over the next few days, they established a routine. Milo would work on her ship during his shift hours, then return to teach Naira about human technology. In exchange, she explained elements of her vessel's biological components. The ship, she told him, was semi-sentient, grown rather than built, forming a symbiotic relationship with its navigator. "It responds to my biological signatures," she explained. "Without them, it begins to wither." And Naira herself was withering. Despite her composed demeanor, Milo could see her condition deteriorating. Her movements became more measured, conserving energy. The veins beneath her skin grew darker, less vibrant. "You need something," Milo said on the 5th day, watching her struggle to maintain her focus during their conversation. "Something to sustain you." Naira's black eyes met his. "Yes." "What is it? Maybe I can synthesize it, or find a substitute." "My species requires a specific biological component for survival." Her voice had taken on a strained quality. "We extract it from compatible donors, in exchange for knowledge, protection, or technology." The pieces clicked together in Milo's mind. Her appearance, the fangs, the life support readings that made no sense. "You need blood," he said quietly. "My blood." Naira inclined her head. "The exchange is sacred to my people. Never taken, only given. I would not ask, but you're dying." Milo finished for her. He ran a hand through his already disheveled hair, thinking, "How much would you need? And what would it do to me?" "A small amount would sustain me until my ship is repaired," she replied. "As for effects, there is a transfer of awareness, certain enhancements to perception. Temporary for most species, though sometimes connections form that persist." Milo considered his options. The rational choice would be to refuse. He knew nothing about her biology, about potential side effects or compatibility issues. But something about her plight resonated with him. Perhaps it was the isolation, the years spent on the fringes of humanity, or maybe just the engineer in him that couldn't stand to see something broken without trying to fix it. "Okay," he said finally, "but we do this in the med bay with monitors, and you stop the second I say so." For the first time since her arrival, Naira smiled, a subtle expression that transformed her alien features into something almost familiar. "I accept your terms, Milo Hayes." In the med bay, Milo sat nervously on the examination table, scanners monitoring his vitals. Naira approached with a grace that seemed to defy gravity. "Your pulse is elevated," she noted, standing before him. "Yeah, well, it's not every day I let a space vampire snack on me." Her lips curved slightly at his attempt at humor. "The process requires contact. I will be gentle." She leaned forward, one cool hand coming to rest at the nape of his neck. Milo felt his heartbeat accelerate further as her face drew near. Her breath, did she even need to breathe, ghosted across his skin. "Last chance to back out," he whispered. "I am in your debt, Milo Hayes," she murmured, then her lips pressed against his throat. The initial pain was sharp but brief, quickly replaced by an extraordinary sensation. It wasn't pleasure exactly, more like the relief of quenching an unrecognized thirst. Warmth spread from the contact point throughout his body, followed by a tingling awareness of everything. The hum of the station's life support, the subtle gravitational pull of the asteroid, the electromagnetic fields generated by the equipment, all suddenly perceptible. And beyond that, something else. Glimpses of strange worlds, vast structures orbiting distant stars, a civilization built on principles of harmony and connection rather than conquest. When Naira finally drew back, her eyes were glowing with renewed energy, the veins beneath her skin pulsing with vibrant blue light. Milo felt dizzy but strangely invigorated, as if he'd just woken from a deep, restorative sleep. What was that?" he asked, touching his neck where she had fed. The wound was already closed, leaving only a slight warmth beneath his fingertips. "The beginning," Naira replied enigmatically, "of something neither of us expected. Blood bond." Milo woke the next morning to the sound of his tools arranging themselves on his workbench. He stared, bleary-eyed, as a wrench lifted into the air and gently settled into a perfect line with the other implements. For a moment, he wondered if he was still dreaming. "Lori," he called out, "are you seeing this?" "Unauthorized telekinetic activity detected," the AI responded. "Recommend immediate security protocols." But Milo wasn't afraid. Somehow, he knew, the movement was connected to him, an extension of his own thoughts. He focused on a screwdriver, picturing it rising into the air, and watched in amazement as it responded to his will. A side effect, Naira's voice came from the doorway. She looked transformed, her skin now radiant with an inner light, her movements fluid and assured. "Your blood carries unusual potential. My contribution has merely awakened what was already there." "You mean I'm telekinetic now?" Milo asked incredulously, letting the screwdriver float back down. "In a limited fashion," she confirmed. "The connection between thought and physical reality is one my species has evolved to navigate. The exchange has granted you a fraction of this ability." "That's convenient," Milo said, thinking of all the times he'd needed a third hand while working on complex repairs. "What else should I expect?" "Enhanced perception, primarily. You may find yourself able to sense energy patterns, particularly in technology. It will help with the repairs." She was right. When they returned to her ship, Milo discovered he could now perceive the vessel's systems in an entirely new way. What had previously appeared chaotic now revealed itself as an intricate network of interconnected patterns. He could sense which pathways were blocked, which connections were severed, almost as if the ship were communicating its distress directly to his mind. The work progressed rapidly after that. With his newfound abilities and Naira's guidance, Milo managed to restore the primary life support systems within days. The ship responded to his touch differently now, recognizing him as something more than a stranger. "It accepts you," Naira observed as they worked together in the ship's central chamber. "This is unusual. The vessels of my people typically bond only with their designated navigator." "Maybe it knows I'm trying to help," Milo suggested, directing the stream of luminescent fluid back into its proper channel with a thought. "Perhaps," she agreed, though her tone suggested something more significant. As they worked, Naira shared more about her people. The Vesperine Collective was ancient, a species that had evolved beyond physical limitations early in their development. They traveled the galaxy not as conquerors but as observers and scholars, collecting knowledge and occasionally sharing it with promising younger species. "Like humans?" Milo asked. "Your kind is interesting," Naira admitted. "Primitive in some ways, remarkably advanced in others. You build with metal and circuits, yet you intuitively understand concepts that took other species millennia to grasp." Milo laughed. "Don't let my bosses hear you call humans advanced. They'd find a way to monetize it, and probably destroy whatever potential you see in us." During their breaks, Milo told her about Earth, about the corporate expansion that had led to outposts like Sigma-9, about the beauty and contradictions of human civilization. Naira listened with the intensity of someone cataloging every detail, occasionally asking questions that revealed just how different her perspective was. "You isolate your most innovative minds," she noted after Milo explained how he'd ended up alone on the outpost. "This seems counterproductive." "It's complicated," Milo shrugged. "I'm good with machines, not so much with corporate politics. Speaking truth to power gets you sent to the edges of space." On the 10th day, as they were finalizing repairs to the navigation systems, Lorai interrupted with an alert. "Multiple vessels detected on approach vector," the AI announced. "Preliminary analysis suggests military configuration." Naira froze, her expression shifting to something Milo hadn't seen before. "Fear." "They found me," she whispered. "Who has?" Milo asked, already moving toward the comms panel. "Lori. Identification on those ships." "Unknown configuration," Lori replied. "Not matching any registered human or allied species designs." Naira's hands moved rapidly over the ship's interface, bringing up a visualization of space around the asteroid. 7 sleek vessels, their design reminiscent of predatory sea creatures, were converging on their position. "The Krell Directorate," she said grimly. "Hunters of knowledge. They seek to possess what my people have gathered over millennia. And they're after you specifically because I am a keeper, the living repository of my collective's most valuable discoveries," Naira explained. "The blood exchange you experienced. A fraction of what I contain. The Krell would extract it all, destroying me in the process." Milo felt a chill run through him. "How long do we have?" "Less than 1 orbital cycle of this asteroid, approximately 6 of your hours." "Then we need to finish these repairs now," Milo said decisively. "Lori, initiate protocol blackout. All transmissions cease, minimum power signatures only. Compliance risks violation of standard operating procedures," Lori warned. "Override Haze Delta 9-4, Milo countered. "This is now a safety emergency." As the outpost went dark around them, Milo and Naira worked feverishly to complete the final repairs. His new abilities proved invaluable, allowing him to manipulate components that would have required specialized tools. Naira's knowledge guided them through the integration of the ship's organic systems, her hands occasionally brushing against his in the confined space, each contact sending sparks of awareness through his consciousness. 4 hours in, the ship's core finally pulsed with renewed life, its bioluminescent veins glowing with steady, healthy light. "It's ready," Naira announced, a note of relief in her voice. "We can depart before the Krell arrive." Milo nodded, ignoring the pang he felt at the word depart. Of course she would leave. That had always been the plan. Fix the ship, help her recover, then back to his solitary existence on the outpost. "We should get your things on board," Naira continued, startling him out of his thoughts. My things. Her obsidian eyes met his. You cannot stay here, Milo Hayes. The Krell will interrogate anyone they find. And after our exchange, you carry traces of Vesperine knowledge within you. They would extract it by any means necessary. The reality of the situation hit him like a physical blow. You want me to come with you? Leave everything behind. What would you be leaving? Naira asked softly. You spoke of isolation, of being discarded by your own kind. I offer partnership, exploration of worlds beyond your imagination. Before Milo could respond, Lori's voice cut through the moment. Proximity alert. Vessels accelerating. Estimated arrival reduced to 47 minutes. Decision time. Milo thought of the outpost, of his contract, of the life waiting for him back in the corporate systems. Then he looked at Naira, at the ship humming with possibilities, at the stars beyond. I'll need 10 minutes to grab my tools and data cores, he said. They barely made it. The Krell vessels entered the asteroid's orbit just as Naira's ship detached from the surface, its organic propulsion system now functioning at full capacity. Milo watched from a newly configured human-compatible interface as the hunters realized their prey was escaping. They're pursuing, he warned, tracking the enemy ship's trajectory. Naira's hands danced across the living controls. Expected, but they do not understand what we've accomplished. The ship surged forward, accelerating at a rate that should have crushed them against the bulkheads. Instead, Milo felt only a gentle pressure as the vessel's internal fields compensated. Through the view screen, he watched the stars elongate into streaks of light. What is this? He asked, awed by the display. A form of transluminal travel unique to Vesperine technology, Naira explained. We do not break physical laws so much as persuade them to accommodate us. The pursuing ships attempted to follow but fell increasingly behind as Naira's vessel slipped through dimensions they couldn't access. Within minutes, they had left the Krell far behind, emerging into a sector of space Milo didn't recognize. Where are we? He asked, looking out at an unfamiliar starscape. The beginning of our journey, Naira replied. She turned to face him fully, her expression solemn yet hopeful. The blood bond between us is more than a simple exchange. Milo Hayes, you have given me life, and I have awakened potential within you. By the customs of my people, this creates a partnership, if you choose to accept it. Milo thought about the strange series of events that had brought him here, a lonely engineer on a forgotten outpost, now traveling among the stars with a being straight out of human mythology. He thought about the abilities now flowing through him, the worlds waiting to be discovered, and the connection he felt to this alien woman. I'm not exactly qualified for interstellar diplomacy, he said with a self-deprecating smile. You fixed what was thought unfixable, Naira countered. You offered blood to a stranger when caution would have dictated otherwise. These qualities are rare across all species I have encountered. She extended her hand, a human gesture she had learned from him. Will you continue this journey with me, Milo Hayes? There is much I can show you, and perhaps much you can teach me in return. Milo looked at her hand, then back at her face. In those alien eyes, he saw something he'd never expected to find so far from Earth: recognition, respect, possibility. He reached out and took her hand, feeling once again that electric connection between them. Well, he said with a growing smile, I've always been a sucker for on-the-job training. The ship responded to their joint agreement, its interior lights pulsing in what Milo somehow knew was approval. Ahead lay stars unexplored by human eyes, civilizations beyond imagination, and challenges that would push his newfound abilities to their limits. And for the first time in years, Milo Hayes was exactly where he wanted to be. The end.